The names rolled one after another on the large screen looking over the rather plain room where the preliminaries of the chunin exams were being held. The names stopped. Kabana Inuzuka versus Naruto Uzumaki. Alright, you hear that, Akamaru? We got an easy match. Kiba shouted as she leapt out onto the battlefield, Akamaru landing down beside her with a mighty rough. Kiba couldn't help but smile as she watched Naruto nearly fall down onto the arena floor. He completely lacked grace and looked like he had a rough time in the forest. Kabana? Naruto couldn't help but smile at the ridiculous name. What kind of name is that? Naruto broke out into a rich belly laugh at Kiba's rather unfortunate name. Kiba felt her face grow red at the comment and stomped her feet. Shut up, Kiba barked, letting out a deep growl. My mom sucks at naming things. Kiba glared hard at Naruto. At least he wasn't afraid of her the same way the other guys were. Shame he was so attracted to that Sakura girl. My name's Kiba. Got it? Kiba. But it says Kabana. Naruto pointed towards the screen, his large, toothy smile beaming like a second sun. That sounds like a girl's name. Kiba narrowed her eyes, fists at her sides, as she felt her cheeks begin to heat up. Naruto, did you think I'm a boy? Well, duh, you're just one of the guys. That stupid smile would not leave his face. Yumi, Shikamaru, and Choji always ran around getting in trouble. Oh, that explains so much. I'm a girl, you idiot. No way. That shout didn't come from Naruto, though the look on Naruto's face indicated that's what he was thinking. It came from Sakura, who was looking around to see if anybody else thought it was odd. The Inuzuka have no male heir, Sakura, Kakashi said blandly. His one eye showed how amused he was to watch Naruto's plight. Though I'm surprised both you and Naruto were unaware. Sakura had the good grace to shut up and simply blush. Well, whatever. Naruto finally said after getting over his shock. It doesn't matter if you're a girl, there's still no way I'm going to lose to you, believe it. No, you're not getting off that easy, Naruto. Kiba barked at him. Her face was red with rage, and her fists were shaking out of anger. Weeks had passed since her humiliating defeat at the hands of Naruto, and Kiba was still flustered about it. It wasn't that she lost. It was that Naruto thought she was a boy. It was also that Naruto didn't treat her like a girl. He treated her like Kiba. Even after the match, Naruto didn't change attitude towards her. Kiba buried her face into one of the large pillows on her bed and pulled on her slightly damp hair. The worst part was that she could still smell him. Not the smell of his fart. That nasty smell had been purged from her nose quickly. But the sheer smell of Naruto remained. She smelt him everywhere. And that meant Naruto was constantly on her mind. Naruto, that annoying hyperactive munchkin doofus that thought she was a boy. Sure, Kiba might have hung out with the boys in her academy days. Sure, she never fawned over Sasuke like the other girls. Sure, she never actually told Naruto that she was a girl. Ga. Kiba screamed again into her pillow once again. Why the hell did it matter to her what that annoying loser Naruto thought of her anyways? Sure, he was technically stronger than her. Sure, Naruto technically beat her. But she was still going to be Hokage, damn it. And she was going to make Naruto pay. Okay, that's 2 screams into the pillow. Kiba turned to glare at her older sister Hana as the know-it-all older sibling walked into the room. What's got you so worked up, squirt? Hana nudged the concerned Akamaru to the side as she sat down right next to Kiba. Kiba glared at her sister for a moment, a blush slowly creeping down from her ears. Hana returned the glare with one of her own. Sighing in defeat, Kiba decided to let her sister know. Naruto, Kiba said quickly as she turned away from her sister's gaze, focusing instead on Akamaru, who had moved over to lick her hands. What, still got his fart stuck in your nose? Hana said with a sharp nasally laugh at her little sister's expense. And Inuzuka had never once been defeated by a fart before. Her mother told Kiba that thanks to her enemy ninja will now know of this weakness and try to exploit it by eating large amounts of beans. Not his fart, Kiba said lamely. I can't walk through Konoha without noticing his scent. Kiba kicked her bed with her feet in frustration. I can't ignore it either. What's it smell like? Hannah asked, curiosity and amusement lacing her voice thickly. Kiba didn't trust the all-too-knowing smile on her sister's face. She didn't trust it at all. What'd it smell like? Kiba shot up, twisting her body so that she was directly facing her sister. It smells like Naruto. That was the simplest answer and most trustful Kiba could come up with. It smells like hard work, sweat, ramen, leaves, sunshine, and really cheap deodorant. But there's more to it than that. I can't put my finger on it. Kiba spat out rapid-fire things about what Naruto smelt like, avoiding the obvious smell of strength that reminded her of her father. That was one of the more prominent traits in Naruto's scent. Wow, Hannah said, laughing again. Kiba growled at the laugh. No matter how helpful Hannah was, at times the teasing was rarely worth it. Stupid older sisters. Well, do you hate the smell? That caught Kiba off guard as her face twisted into one of confusion. It wasn't that Naruto's scent was bad. Kiba actually thought it was an alright smell, in that she didn't really mind smelling it when she went out into Konoha. She just didn't like that it made her think of Naruto. It's not bad, Kiba said meekly. Hannah giggled as she had a mental image of Kiba with dog ears saying that while the ears drooped. Sounds like you have a crush. No way, Kiba shouted quickly, standing up on her bed. The simple thought of having a crush on Naruto was too much to handle, and she just had to move so that it didn't get comfortable in her head. Shaking her head back and forth quickly. There is no way I can like that idiot loser. Why not? Hannah asked curiously. Because he thought I was a guy up until a week ago. Kiba attempted to defend herself. And he only found out I was a girl because he was laughing at my name. Those sound like reasons for him not to like you, Hannah said, swiping at her sister's feet to force her back down onto the bed. Kiba fell to the bed with an undignified gasp. Akamaru bravely rose to her defense by nipping at Hannah's hand. Watch it, pup. He's stupid, Kiba growled from her now prone position. He's the dead last and an idiot. He's weak. He beat you, Hannah interjected, but Kiba continued her rant. He's short. He only eats ramen. He's stupid. Hinata already has a crush on him. He likes that Sakura girl. So, he obviously has crappy taste in women. Kiba let out a long huff out of her nose. And he's a pervert. Kiba finished by shooting both of her arms straight up into the air. Okay. Sheesh. Hannah got up from Kiba's bed and made her way out of the room. She stopped at the door frame. You know, often when girls your age have opinions like that, they actually have a crush on the boy. Hannah ran out the door as a pillow flew towards her head. What do you think, Akamaru? Kiba asked her companion, who just yipped at her. She understood exactly what that yip meant. Akamaru was teasing her that she liked Naruto. What the hell do you know? You're a dog, Kiba growled. Akamaru yipped again. Whatever. Let's just head out. Kiba suddenly grew very tired of looking at her room. She didn't have to train with Shino today. Shino was doing most of it with his clan anyways. And with Hinata still in the hospital, Kiba had almost nothing better to do but train, wallow and self-pity, and be endlessly frustrated by Naruto. Walking into Konoha proper proved to be a mistake. It was like Naruto rubbed his scent on every single street corner. The very air was thick with Naruto's scent. It had always been, Kiba realized as she stomped through one of the many streets of Konoha with Akamaru right behind her. Naruto's scent had always been in and around Konoha, but now she couldn't stop noticing it everywhere. Once she recognized his scent, there was just no escaping it. Ichiraku ramen? Naruto. Academy? Naruto. Mission table? Naruto. Random apartment? Naruto. Red Bridge? Naruto. Sakura? Strawberry shampoo, and then Naruto. Bathhouse? Naruto. Kiba was at Naruto, where everything smelled like Naruto. It was everywhere. Gah. Kiba shouted in the middle of the street before running off in a random direction. She needed desperately to escape Naruto's scent. She needed him out of her head more than anything. Ignoring the whines of Akamaru at her sudden movement, Kiba bolted out into the thicker forests that surrounded Konoha. Why is he stuck in my head? Kiba asked herself as she rested her against the rough bark of a tree. Akamaru yipped and barked at her. I don't have a crush on Naruto. Kiba snapped at the poor dog. There's no way I could do that to Hinata, Kiba admitted as she continued to bury her head into the rough tree bark. Kiba almost wanted to cry. Even out here in the middle of nowhere, she could still smell Naruto. She could practically hear him. Akamaru yipped and growled at her, pulling on her pant leg to get Kiba's attention. What is it? Kiba's disgruntled voice was barely a whisper as she turned her attention to Akamaru. Akamaru barked and then turned around, acting like a pointer. Kiba followed it and felt her heart sink. Somehow, without even thinking about it, she had followed Naruto's scent right to him. Just across the wide river bend in a rather nice-looking swimming hole was Naruto. The wind blew towards Kiba, and she felt her knees buckle. It was getting worse. Her cheeks flared red as the raw smell of Naruto filtered into her nose. Kiba wanted to scream. She hated the fact that she was liking the smell. She hated the fact that it was Naruto that was causing this. She hated the fact that Hinata was her friend. She hated the fact that she wanted to just talk to Naruto right then and there. She hated the fact that she didn't know what was even going on. Watching Naruto train without a care in the world, Kiba couldn't help but think that life would be so much easier if she was actually a boy. Kiba simply stood half-concealed by the trees and foliage as she watched Naruto train. A large man with a lot of spiky white hair sat nearby, laughing more often than he was giving instructions. The laughter seemed to be proving more effective than the actual instructions in getting Naruto to actually train. All Naruto was really doing was making toads appear over and over again. Most of them were tadpoles no bigger than Naruto's hand. Why is he wasting time with those weak things? Kiba asked nobody in particular. She hadn't realized that she was sitting down until Akamaru curled up in her lap, deciding that a late afternoon nap was a good idea. How on earth is he planning on beating a guy like Niji like that? It was then that Naruto froze and suddenly looked right at Kiba. Kiba froze as well. Hey Kiba, Naruto shouted at the girl he used to think was a boy. Like a deer being caught by a wolf, Kiba bolted away in a mad scramble. Hey Kiba, wait, Naruto shouted from behind her. Kiba's face was red now, very red. Her breathing was ragged, and her heart was beating in her ears. So this was what it felt like to die from embarrassment. Naruto had caught her practically stalking him. Naruto's going to think that she likes him now. Naruto's going to get the wrong idea about everything. It was just dumb luck that she stumbled upon Naruto, and it was just curiosity that made her stay and watch his Naruto training. Right? Kiba tripped, too flustered by the fact that Naruto was actually chasing behind her to fully pay attention to where she was going. Kiba's foot caught under a root, sending her flying towards the ground rather quickly, and sending Akamaru flying through the air and off the cliff face. Akamaru. Kiba saw Akamaru plummeting to his death. Even a ninja dog wouldn't be able to survive a fall from the height. She had practically thrown her companion, her best friend, to his death. She struggled against the wicked root that was wrapped around her ankle. I got him. Kiba twisted to watch Naruto leap off the cliff. With no sense of self-preservation, he caught Akamaru midair in a rough somersault. Naruto. Kiba shouted as she pulled her ankle out of the root, rolling the fragile joint. They were both going to die now. Naruto and Akamaru were both going to die now because she tripped on a root. You okay, Akamaru? Naruto asked as he looked at the dog tucked into his arms. Akamaru whined and gave a yelp. Naruto had no idea what the dog was saying. Well, whatever, let's hope this works. Akamaru held on for dear life as Naruto began going through the hand signs once again. Something big, Naruto shouted as he shot his hand downward, summoning jutsu. From the ground to where Naruto was falling, filled with smoke, Naruto crashed down upon the slick blue surface of the beast he summoned. Gyro, Gyro? Gamma Hero asked as he looked around. Jiraiya-san? The toad questioned as he began searching its head for its summoner. With a ginger pluck, the massive toad brought Naruto down before him. You're not Jiraiya-san. Much too short. I'm not short, Naruto shouted as he kicked his legs while dangling in front of the massive toad. And, my name's Naruto. Got it. Naruto Uzumaki. Akamaru barked in agreement. The massive blue toad's eyes went wide at the noise. Ah, a dog. Gamahiro squealed in a pitch unbefitting its massive size. Naruto's jacket was torn from his body as he found himself being thrown through the air as the toad flailed its arms around before vanishing in smoke. I got you, boy. Naruto called as he caught Akamaru for the second time that day. Naruto managed to slam hard into the top of the cliff, knocking the wind out of him, but delivering Akamaru to safety. The pup returned the favor by biting onto Naruto's sleeves to try and pull him up the cliff. Kiba limped over to Naruto with her ankle twisted into a painful degree. She grabbed onto Naruto's arm before the blonde could pull himself up. Thanks, Kiba said sharply as she scooped up Akamaru into her hands. But this is all your fault, you idiot. Kiba's harsh tone caused Akamaru to whine and whimper in her arms. Akamaru was on Naruto's side to now. Just great. What? Naruto spat out as he dusted himself off. How's it my fault? You're the one that ran away from me. Because you were chasing me, spat back, giving Naruto a sharp glare of her own. Only because you started to run away. Naruto huffed as he put his hands into his pockets. Whatever, I need to get back to training before Pervy Sage runs off again. He was already missing his jacket. Kiba frowned at Naruto. And, at herself, she might have gone too far with that. Attempting to step out of Naruto's way proved to be a mistake, as she temporarily forgot about her ankle. Kiba winced and drew in a sharp intake of air. It was a good thing she didn't have any missions for a while. Let me help you back, okay? Naruto sighed. He didn't even wait for her to answer. Brought her arm around his shoulder. For once, him being short was proving to be a good thing. What about training? Not being directly opposed to not walking on a sprained ankle, Kiba didn't openly protest Naruto's help. She felt a lot of sudden urges then, as she was once again being held by Naruto. Why on earth was Naruto making her feel like her stomach was doing fong over fong with her heart? The pervy sage was about to call it quits for the day. Besides, Naruto said excitedly, nearly bouncing on his heels. Did you see how big that toad was? It was huge. Akamaru yipped from the ground before growling. Right, and he was afraid of Akamaru too. Kiba had to suppress a giggle. She failed, and the giggle bubbled over. So, is that how you plan on beating Miji? Kiba wasn't even thinking at the moment. That meant she wasn't thinking about Naruto or his stupid smell. And the less she thought, the better things would be. What? Naruto asked as though he was insulted. No way, I'm going to beat Miji without my summons. Believe it. Kiba stared at Naruto for a moment before smiling. I know from experience it's a bad idea to underestimate you, Naruto, Kiba said, allowing herself to smile for once. The mood was spoiled by Naruto's stomach speaking up, apparently trying to take credit for Naruto's victory over Kiba, which was true. And that stomach of yours. Gah. Naruto suddenly shouted as he quickly became depressed. I lost my jacket. I had coupons for ramen in there. Sighing in defeat, Naruto had to wipe away a single tear. Oh well, they expired today anyways. Akamaru yipped happily as he followed behind Kiba and Naruto through the thick Konoha forest. So, why'd you chase after me anyways? Kiba asked suddenly, not wanting to deal with the thoughts silence brought. Oh, I wanted to see if you would get ramen with me. Those words had a profound effect on Kiba. Was Naruto going to ask her out on a date? Did Naruto always like her, but didn't act on it because he thought she was a boy? Why was her heart racing? Why did she not entirely hate the simple idea of going on a date with Naruto? Why did she want to prove to him that she was a girl? Why was she good friends with Hinata? As an apology for thinking you were a guy and other stuff, Naruto's own face reddened as he sucked on his bottom lip. But you don't have to if you don't want to. I understand if you don't like me right now. Yeah, well. Kiba half mumbled to herself as they made it to the main road of Konoha. I'll treat you to ramen tomorrow, Kiba said suddenly. Not that I want to or anything. Just as a thank you for saving Akamaru and helping me home. You don't have to if you. Naruto began with a frown but was quickly cut off by. Idiot, Kiba spat. I said I'll treat you to ramen tomorrow. So, I'm going to treat you to ramen tomorrow, got it? Kiba's ears were red now, and she was once again thankful for her large hoodie covering much of her face. Got it, Naruto said, snapping his mouth shut. Good, he was learning. Good, Kiba said, smirking for a moment, before she realized exactly what she did. Kabana Inuzuka, had just asked Naruto Uzumaki out on a date. What was she thinking? What was she going to wear? What was she going to tell Hinata? How much ramen could Naruto eat? What did you even do on a date? She could practically hear Akamaru snickering at her. She could already feel Hana's teasing. And her mother's amused smirk. Kiba hated that smirk. It was an oh so close to actually winning kind of smile. Well, anyways, I think my ankle got better, so I'll meet you at a Chiraka's at noon tomorrow. Okay, bye. Kiba quickly sputtered out as she ignored the pain in her foot too quickly. And don't be late, idiot. Girls are weird, Naruto said, looking to Akamaru, who tilted his head in confusion, before yipping agreeably at Naruto and bolting off after Kiba. But hey, free ramen. Kiba was not a girly girl. She was probably the very definition of a tomboy, which is why her clothing selection wasn't well suited for dates. Girls wore dresses on dates, after all. At least, that's what Kiba thought. She had never actually been on a date before. Which is why, for the first time in her life, Kiba was experiencing a female freakout over her clothing. No, Kiba shouted, throwing yet another shirt onto her bed. She let out a disgusted grunt and threw another shirt. Kiba examined a particularly old shirt for a moment. It would almost work. Does this even fit me anymore? Akamaru barked and whined as yet another shirt flew on top of him. He remained seated in place, shrugging the shirt off to the side. What? Kiba shrieked at her companion, her face slowly growing redder. Akamaru barked and whined in the same way once again, as though he was repeating himself. No. I don't care what you would do. I'm not going to let Naruto smell my ass. Akamaru barked. Kiba's face grew even redder. That's different. Kiba bit back. That was during a fight, and that is not why I like him. Kiba paused as she realized exactly what she said. No. I don't like Naruto. I absolutely do not like him. She felt like pulling out her hair. She was just going out on a date with Naruto because he had saved Akamaru and helped her back to the village. Nothing more. It had absolutely nothing to do with Naruto's scent becoming a pleasant obsession to Kiba, or how nice he was. There was just absolutely no way that Kiba could have a crush on Naruto. Sure, he was nice, strong, wasn't that bad looking, and smelled absolutely amazing. But there was just no way that Kiba could do that to Hinata. It was just a friendly date that Kiba was freaking out about looking nice for. Now, what's got your panties in a twist, squirt? A jolt of shock shot through Kiba's spine as Hana poked her head through the doorway. Hana eyed the complete and utter chaos of Kiba's room. It was only slightly more chaotic than normal with Kiba's entire wardrobe on the bed. I have a date, Kiba whined, as she threw another shirt on the bed. The majority of them were dull grays and browns, and completely covered in dog fur. Kiba realized she said too much when Hana's head vanished from sight, though her hands could still be seen on the inside of Kiba's door frame. Mom, Hana yelled, and Kiba instantly broke out into a cold sweat. She would be attending Naruto's funeral soon enough. Kabana has a boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. Kiba's protests were muted by what sounded like a hurricane suddenly blasting through their house. Dishes crashed, glasses cracked, and the very house itself shook as some Inuzuka went on the warpath. There was a squeal as Hana dodged out of the way of their mother. And Kiba suddenly found herself staring down at the feral eyes of her wild mother. Sim was currently wearing a pink, slightly frilly apron and smelt like dish soap. She was wild, but nobody could say she wasn't a great mother. Who? Sim asked, clasping Kiba's shoulders as she stared at her daughter with wild eyes. Sim was naturally protective. She enjoyed scaring boys away from her daughters, and this one was exciting. It was the first boy going after her youngest. The smell of fresh meat was in the air. He's not my boyfriend. Kiba tried to defend, really not liking the crazy look in her mother's eyes. Kiba loved her mother dearly, but she knew that her father left because of the raw intensity Sum showed. Huh. Sum came close to growling at the end of it. She needed to know who was seeking her daughter's heart. She needed to make sure they were worthy, to make sure the Inuzuka clan would be made stronger by them. This was their way. Sum tightened her grip on her daughter's shoulders. Naruto. Kiba squeaked out. Instantly, Tsum's grip lessened from uncomfortable to gentle as she blinked in confusion, then recognition. Naruto. Tsum repeated. Uzumaki. She watched as Kiba's head bobbed once for confirmation. Blonde hair, blue eyes? Tsum mused as she watched her daughter's head bob twice, once for each question. Well, all right then. Tsum stood up, leaving her daughters in shock. Truth be told, she might have been one of the few people to know Kushina as a person. She liked it when girls weren't afraid to beat the tar out of guys. It had led to something of a rivalry and friendship between the two in their youth. Such a shame adopting Naruto had been forbidden. Wait, what? Hana asked in shock as her mother left the room. How come Kiba gets off easy? She began to chase after her mother. You've scared off and intimidated all the boys I've tried to bring home. And Kiba gets in all right then when you haven't even met the brat. Get better taste, Sim retorted. Kiba blinked as she considered what just happened. Her completely and utterly terrifying cross between a man-eater and man-hater had just approved of Naruto as a boyfriend. There was no good way of feeling about this. Not pursuing it would be throwing away the first boyfriend approval Tsum had ever given, but pursuing it would mean that Kiba liked Naruto. Which she certainly did not. At least, not like that. It's just a date as friends, Kiba reaffirmed to herself. It's just ramen. She breathed in and out for a moment, calming herself down. Akamaru barked and yipped at her. She threw an article of clothing directly at the pup. Not helping. Eventually, Hana returned, assuming the typical older sister pose that involved leaning against the doorframe with her arms crossed. So, why are you searching through all your clothes? I'm trying to find something that makes me look like a girl. Kiba grunted out as she began reaching deeper into her closet. She pulled out another plain-looking shirt and threw it on the bed along with the others in a huff. The date was soon, and she was beginning to lose hope. Pfft, you might as well be a boy, Hana said, walking over to Kiba's pile and pulled out some clothing at random. You have no idea how to dress like a girl. She examined the clothing she picked out and threw one at Kiba. Why is it so important that you do? Kiba began to put on the top she was handed. Naruto thought I was a boy, Kiba reminded. And it wasn't just him. A girl, Sakura, thought I was a boy, too. That one hurt more. Naruto was an oblivious idiot, but Sakura was actually smart. Kind of. She did chase after Sasuke, which was stupid. Naruto was a lot better in that regard. Kiba chose to ignore that thought. Shit, Hana laughed. I sometimes think Mom is a guy. Some certainly did wear the pants in almost any relationship, but it's not the clothes that make the girl. Hana tossed another piece of clothing at Kiba, who dutifully put it on. It's the girl that makes the clothes. Hana smirked as she examined the top that she gave Kiba. That one might have worked a cup size ago. Hana. Kiba shrieked, blushing. Relax, squirt. Besides, showing them off is a great way to remind everyone you're a girl. Hana smiled as her little sister's face began to heat up even more. Torturing siblings was so much fun, especially when they got to have a boyfriend, and Hana did not. Hana grabbed a hold of Kiba's hair. Now, she said, let's make certain that Naruto knows you are. Indeed female. Akamaru barked and whined again. I will give you a bath. Kiba shouted as she felt Hana comb and pull at her rough and tangled hair. Kiba bounced on her feet, not out of happiness or of excitement, or, God forbid, nervousness. There was no way having a meeting with Naruto would make her feel any of those things. She was bouncing on her feet because she was bored and impatient. Naruto wasn't here yet. It wasn't that Naruto was late. It was more that Kiba was early, a good 10 minutes early. Kiba was 10 minutes early because she had nothing better to do. All she had planned today was to eat ramen with Naruto. All she had to do was make it through this date and then totally not freak out. and visit Hinata again. Oh, hey, Akamaru. Naruto casually walked up, greeting the dog first instead of Kiba. Kiba's head instantly snapped to Naruto. She didn't quite recognize him without that jacket on. It wasn't that he looked completely different. It was just that that stupid jacket was such a big part of what made Naruto Naruto. It was weird without him wearing it. Have you seen Kiba? Naruto asked the dog, who instantly made a sound that was probably laughter. Actually, it was laughter. That spark of anger that began to form in Kiba's gut was instantly washed away by confusion, and then, for a second, amusement. I'm right here, you idiot. Kiba barked, stomping her feet. Naruto blinked at her. His mouth fell open. Wow. That was not the reaction Kiba was expecting. But she was rather glad she had gotten that reaction out of Naruto. Naruto's shock turned to a kind and warm smile. Your hair is really pretty like that. This marked the day that Kiba would start to comb her hair every day. Well, almost every day. Kiba's blush did its best to make itself known. Fortunately, Naruto was oblivious. Whatever. Kiba huffed, crossing her arms in annoyance. It's not like I did it for you. Feeling bold, Kiba grabbed a hold of Naruto's bare arm and quickly pulled him into the cozy ramen stand. Now, let's get ramen. Naruto frowned as he was nearly thrown onto a stool by Kiba. Hey, watch it. Naruto grunted as he barely managed to catch himself on the stool. You might be dressed like a girl. Naruto recited from the big book of what not to say on a date, but you don't act like one. Ift. Kiba snorted as she took her seat next to Naruto. Not like Sakura's any better. She grabbed one of the menu cards. Like, really? Why do you let her hit you all the time? Kiba also had made a mistake. Bringing up another girl. Naruto frowned and shrugged as he easily took his seat next to Kiba. Compared to Sakura, that light shove Kiba gave him really was nothing. Though she hadn't hit him in a while. When was the last time Sakura hit him? Not since the mission in the wave, right? Well, she hasn't done it in a while. Naruto huffed offhandedly. He didn't need to look at the menu in order to order. This was his stand, after all. His name was even written on one of the seats. His mood improved the moment the smell of broth hit his nostrils. One miso ramen with extra pork, please. Kiba was looking at the menu, but she wasn't really reading it. A sudden rush came over her as she once again smelled Naruto. He smelled really, really good, as if he had taken a shower in spring water while fighting a lion. It was a clean, musky, manly smell that wafted over to her. Her nose twitched. And what about you? I asked Kiba, causing the young Inuzuka to jump. Oh. Kiba gulped as she read the menu more intently. She turned, looking at Naruto. What has the most meat? When she didn't receive an answer, Kiba realized the boy wasn't paying attention. She was going out on a date with him, and he was just going to sit there and ignore her. Kiba leaned over and shouted loudly into the boy's ears. Naruto. Gah. Naruto nearly fell from his seat once again. He spun around to face the loudmouth next to him. What the hell was that for, Kiba? I ask you a question. Kiba snorted as she pointed at the menu. What ramen has the most meat? What? Can't you read? Naruto asked as he leaned over to look at the menu. I'm not the dead last, you idiot, Kiba snorted. But you're the ramen expert, and this is your favorite place. So help me out and order me a ramen with a lot of meat. Akamaru yipped from the ground behind the curtain. Nobody asked you. Kiba growled at the dog before directing her scowl towards Naruto. Here, the one called Meat Lover's Ramen should have everything you want on it, Naruto said, pointing directly at the menu in Kiba's hand. So, one Meat Lover's Ramen? I asked, a rather concerned and bemused look on her face. Naruto was acting like this was just lunch with friends. The girl was acting like this should be a date, but she didn't really want it to be a date. It was going to be fun to watch. Kiba nodded quickly. Yes, please. She kept glaring over at Naruto as they sat there quietly waiting for their ramen. She needed him to say something. Naruto needed to talk to her. This was a date, right? Hey, Naruto said suddenly, shooting up in his seat. Kiba instantly stood at attention, looking at Naruto as she sucked her bottom lip over her teeth. How come you're on a team with Hinata if you're both girls? Kiba blinked at the question. She had never actually thought about it. The only male on her team was Shino and Akamaru, and neither one of them were particularly threatening to females. Then there was Kurenai. To say that she was a man-hater was wrong, but the Jounin sensei of Team 8 made her opinion known that kunoichi were just as strong as their male counterparts. Maybe Kurenai sensei requested it. I think Iruka assigned the teams, though, Naruto said, tapping his foot against the leg of the stool. A pang of realization went through him. Do you think he thought you were a guy too? Naruto's tone almost sounded hopeful, as if it would make him feel like less of an idiot if Sakura and Iruka were both wrong about Kiba's gender as well. After all, they were essentially the two smartest people Naruto knew. Kiba frowned, her mouth slightly open, as she tried to think of a retort or an instance where Iruka had called her Kabana or made any indication. Even when they were split by gender for certain activities, Kiba stayed with the boys. Largely because she wasn't friends with any of the girls. She had always thought that Iruka was just understanding and didn't really care. Memories of Iruka shouting at her when she was making trouble with Naruto, Choji, and Shikamaru flashed through her mind. It was always you boys, or you guys. She was never singled out as a girl. I hope not, Kiba groaned out, her head meeting with the hard wooden countertop. I don't even want to know how many people thought I was a boy. The number was already several times greater than she ever thought possible. It was bad enough that Naruto and Sakura were on that list. Kiba did not want to add any names to the list. Well, it's your fault for dressing like a boy, Naruto joked. Kiba crossed her arms with a mighty huff. Akamaru barked in agreement with Naruto. It was just a jacket. Kiba protested. Hinata wears a jacket. Hinata acts like a girl. Kiba's chopsticks snapped in two. Shut up. Naruto did just that, although he allowed a nervous chuckle to escape. And then there was ramen. For a brief, glorious few seconds, Kiba's senses were completely overwhelmed and all traces of Naruto vanished. The bowl before her was a hot steaming pile of noodle and meat sex. Not a single vegetable was seen on the glorious mountain of meat and egg. Before her sat the manliest, meatiest bowl of ramen Kiba had ever laid her eyes on. Its aroma was heavy and hung in the air like a thick viscous fog that seemed determined to fill her nostrils to the brim. The smell of the beef mixed with the sour smell of the chicken that performed the tango with the pork, all while having dirty sex with the noodles as they stewed in the thick broth. It reminded her of Naruto. Looking over at her date, Kiba allowed the tips of her lips to twitch as she saw how engrossed Naruto was with his meal. He was nearly inhaling the ramen like a mad animal. And if her ramen tasted as good as it smelled, Kiba would likely be doing the same. Elegantly grabbing one of the beef strips and wrapping it tightly in noodles, Kiba breathed on it once, enjoying the visual of the steam floating away from her before flowing back up towards her nose. The taste did not disappoint Kiba. This was her first time eating at this ramen stand. Bowls filled with noodles and liquid just didn't sound anywhere near as good as barbecue, where she could eat all the meat she wanted. But this bowl was simply divine. Thanks for the meal, Kiba, Naruto said as he was finished with his bowl of ramen. He practically inhaled his. Kiba was nearly envious of the speed at which Naruto consumed his ramen. She didn't want to savor her ramen. She wanted it in her. Now. I'll see you later. Kiba blinked as she slurped up a piece of beef that was a bit long. Naruto was leaving. Now. In the middle of their date. What the hell? What the hell? Kiba shouted as anger quickly rose up inside of her. Sure, the date so far had been a shitty one. The only positive was the ramen and Naruto saying he liked her hair. But that was it. Other than that, they'd been arguing for no good reason. But Naruto was leaving so soon. He could at least wait until she finished her ramen. Was that too much to ask for? Why the fuck are you leaving now? Naruto mused, confused, as Kiba angrily rose to meet him, once again demonstrating that she was, indeed, taller than he was. I thought you just wanted to buy me a bowl of ramen? You should at least wait for your date to finish her meal before you decided to end the date. Kiba shouted, her hands were shaking and her face was flushed with anger. Akamaru joined her in growling at Naruto. What? Naruto asked. This was the first he heard of it being a date. He thought it was just free food. This was a date? Whatever, fine. Kiba shouted, turning around, huffing. It's not like I wanted to go out on a date with an idiot loser like you. Kiba began marching off. I hope you lose to Niji, you stupid bastard. Akamaru followed dutifully behind his partner. Kiba, wait. Naruto attempted to chase after her, but was instantly put in his place by the savage barks of Akamaru. The small dog snarled at the blonde, showing fangs and all. How dare this idiot boy make his Kiba cry? Whoa, Akamaru, calm down. The dog continued barking madly and snapped at Naruto, causing Naruto to back away in shock, not wanting to get bitten by the dog. Okay. Naruto surrendered. With a huff, Akamaru turned to leave. Boy, you messed that one up, Naruto. I said with a deep frown. Who's going to pay the bill? Tucci asked from behind the counter. Naruto frowned as he pulled out his wallet and paid for their meal. Things were going to be tight now. Meat lovers' ramen were expensive. And now he felt rather guilty about what happened with Kiba and couldn't even bother to finish her half-empty bowl of ramen. All right, Naruto, Jiraiya said with a deep sigh. He'd been watching his most recent blonde student struggle with summoning so much as a tadpole compared to yesterday, when he summoned Gamma Hero. It was a large setback. However, this was Naruto's usual level of sucking. What's wrong? Nothing, Naruto shouted with a frown as he tried to summon another frog. This time, absolutely nothing happened. Again. Really? Jiraiya asked. Nothing sure does sound like a whole lot of something. It was the same nothing Kushina would say she was doing when she started appearing around Minato's training sessions. Fine. Naruto sighed as he crossed his arms in frustration. Girls are weird. Naruto started off. Being a connoisseur of women, Jiraiya couldn't help but nod at the truth of the statement. Well, I happen to know everything there is to know about a woman, so tell me your woes, my boy. Naruto wasn't entirely certain he believed his sensei. Getting off your chest is going to do more than summoning more tadpoles. Naruto sighed in defeat. You know that girl Kiba I chased after yesterday? Jiraiya nodded. Well, I was going to buy her a bowl of ramen to make up for thinking she was a guy. Jiraiya laughed at that. Shut up. What? It's funny. Jiraiya defended himself meekly as his jovial smile began to irritate Naruto more than it normally did. Whatever, Naruto said, crossing his arms with a huff. I couldn't do it because I lost my jackets which had my coupons in it. Naruto turned slightly towards the direction he lost his jacket. He still needed to try and find it. So she said she would buy me a bowl of ramen. So, what's the problem? Jiraiya asked, raising an eyebrow nice and high on his massive head. She thought it was a date. Naruto wailed. She didn't act like it was. She didn't say the word date. She just said that she would buy me a bowl of ramen. Naruto whined as he began flailing his arms. So after I ate my ramen, she yells at me and then runs off. Jiraiya hummed as he began to pool his years of chasing women into Naruto's problem. Did she hit you? No, Naruto said after a moment. Sure, she pushed him into his seat. But that didn't really hurt, it was more of a surprise. Was she happy to see you? Not really, no, Naruto said honestly. If it wasn't for ramen, he probably would have left after first saying hello to Kiba. It took Kiba all of 5 words before she insulted Naruto, though he might have earned it given how he didn't see Kiba standing right in front of him. I see. Jiraiya began to rub his chin as an image of what happened began to form in his mind. Did she look any different than normal? Yeah, Naruto replied quickly. She had her hair down and wasn't wearing her jacket. It was a bit weird seeing Kiba without her jacket during the Chunin exams. It was even weirder seeing her not dressed as a shinobi. With her hair down, she might even be prettier than Sakura. Naruto was reminded for a moment of the last time he was confused about somebody's gender. And did she say something like, Jiraiya coughed into his hand as he prepared to do his best teenage girl impersonation. Idiot. It was comically bad how off-pitched Jiraiya was like trying to make a trumpet sound like a triangle. It's not like I did it for you, or anything. Yeah, how'd you know? Naruto asked confused. That was pretty much exactly what Kiba had said to him, in almost the exact same tone, just in less of an old man trying to sound like a little girl voice. You, my boy. Jiraiya grasped Naruto's shoulders tightly. Have managed to attract one of the most complex women out there. Jiraiya paused for dramatic effect. Kiba is at Tsundere. What's at Tsundere? Only Naruto could ask such an innocent question. A woman that hates the fact that she has a crush on you, Jiraiya explained simply. It was the same story with Minato and Kushina. And Kushina was one hell of a Tsundere. It tormented Minato for months until he finally kissed Kushina and calmed her down significantly. What, there's no way Kiba can have a crush on me? Naruto protests fell on uncaring ears. Yeah, sure. Just don't be surprised if she comes to give you a thoughtful present in the future. Jiraiya ruffled Naruto's hair as he smiled at his poor naive student. Now get back to work. Unless you want me to throw you off a cliff, because that's the only way you can summon something bigger than a turkey sandwich. Naruto wasn't entirely certain if Jiraiya was joking or not. Stupid, annoying, Kiba grumbled to herself. She was stuck up in a tree. Climbing wasn't exactly something Inuzuka prided themselves on. They had dogs, not cats. Her shirt had ripped at some point during the climb, and now her shorts were snagged on another branch. Akamaru barked. Yeah, I see it. Just let me get it. Kiba stretched out slowly, reaching her target. Just a few more inches. The branch creaked and snapped. Kiba was falling, and in a desperate swing, she lurched forward, grabbing onto the sleeve of Naruto's jacket. Her fall down wasn't as graceful as it would have been for another ninja. She ungracefully crashed down along the tree, brushing and banging against nearly every branch on the way down. But she still landed on her feet. Akamaru whined at her. Shut up. I was careful. Nothing broken, Kiba said, slapping her arms and legs. Still, it did hurt. But she managed to get what she was after. Naruto's jacket. All it cost her was a couple of scrapes and bruises, but she had gotten Naruto's jacket back. Now, all she had to do was give it to him, and he wouldn't be mad at her for their date. There were two things that stopped Kiba from running off to find Naruto right then. Firstly, Naruto's jacket was ripped along the armpit on the right arm. The tear was reparable, but it wasn't wearable for anything more than walking at the moment. The second was that Kiba's own shirt was little more than scraps. This was why she wore her jacket. It could take a beating and not rip. Kiba sighed as she removed the scraps of her shirt and put on Naruto's jacket. Guess, I'll have to wear this and hope nobody sees me. It smelled just like him. Kiba glared at Akamaru as she zipped Naruto's hoodie all the way up. Don't say anything, Kiba commanded. Not a goddamn thing. Seamstress. On the list of things that Kiba was not, seamstress was pretty high up there. Right below male, crushing on Naruto, or at Tsundere. She was not at Tsundere. She, like all Inuzuka, wore her emotions on her sleeve. Ow. Kiba swore for the umpteenth time, pricking her finger once again with a sewing needle. She had taken it upon herself to fix Naruto's jacket. He had lost it while saving Akamaru, and she had torn it trying to get it back for him. Darn it, whimpered Kiba, and she sucked on her finger when a bit of blood began to seep from the wound. It confused her how she was able to prick herself on the pinky of the hand that was holding the needle in the first place. She wasn't doing this for Naruto. She was doing this so she wouldn't owe Naruto anything. Akamaru barked and flipped a page on the book Kiba had found for repairing shinobi attire. Kiba smiled and rubbed Akamaru's head. Thanks, bud. She continued to read, making certain she had the stitch right. She had the stitching manual her mother used whenever she tore her jacket or pants. She even had the idea to add in a couple pieces of armor inside of the jacket. Akamaru yipped and then bolted away, Kiba lunging after him. Kiba's face flushed, and she made a mad dash to try and stop Akamaru. No, don't you dare. She reached out to grab him, but he slipped away just as her fingers began to close around the fur of his tail. If you so much as growl at Mom, I'm going to tie you up and dash. Unfortunately for Kiba, Akamaru was quicker and far more clever. Kiba crashed headfirst into her mother, sending one of them sprawling down onto the floor below. Equally unfortunate was the fact that her mother was made of sturdy stuff. Watch it pop. Sum barked, picking her daughter up. What did I say about running in the house? Kiba pouted. Sum had never actually said anything about running in the house. She frequently did it herself. Accepting her mother's outstretched hand, Kiba attempted to come up with some sort of well-crafted lie. Sum didn't take kindly to the truth at times, although she often demanded it. Kiba had to think quickly. Not to break anything? Right. Sum barked, pulling her daughter up to her feet with a rough tug. And that includes yourself. She examined her daughter's hand. A dozen or so band-aids littered the fingertips where few scabs had begun to form. What on earth have you been doing? Akamaru barked with authority. Some eyes went wild, and a feral, menacing grin spread across her face. She shoved past her daughter, nearly knocking Kiba onto the floor again. Just one date and you're already taking home his clothes? Let's see what the damage is. Kiba chased after her mother, yelping in dismay when Sum entered her room. Mom, wait. But it was too late. Sum already had her paws on Naruto's jacket. I'm not done yet. I dash. This stitching won't hold. Sum plucked one of the strands of Kiba's handwork with her nail, and the whole thing fell apart. At the look of dismay on Kiba's face, Sum snorted. Let me help you. Kiba pulled Naruto's jacket away from her mother, who gave surprisingly little resistance. Normally when her mother said help, she meant you watch while I do everything and don't you dare think about even breathing wrong. No. I need to do this. I tore Naruto's jacket, so I need to fix it myself. Sum let out a mighty guffaw that lasted several seconds, then gave her daughter a pat on the head. There are 3 ways into a man's heart, Sum began, ignoring Kiba's groan of protest. 1 is through his stomach. Your boy should be easy. His jacket smells like ramen. Sum pointed at Naruto's jacket. The 2nd is to fix all of his small things so he can't think about how he would live without you. Kiba nodded at the 2nd point. It explained why her mother was so good at fixing just about everything. The 3rd, when her mother's grin began to widen and she placed both hands on Kiba's shoulders, regret pooled itself at the bottom of her gut. The 3rd way is the best. If you figure out how to make him moan when you ma dashed, Sum cut herself off as she sniffed Kiba. Wait, you haven't bled yet. Kiba's face went red, and she shrieked in disgust. Mom. Sum's smile shifted into one of amusement. Don't worry so much about it. Your sister was a late bloomer too. She brought her hands to her chest and then cupped the air in front of her. And boy did she bloom. I have no idea where she got those sweater puppies. Certainly not from me. Sum then gave her daughter a wicked eye. And from the looks of things, you're going to follow after her bra steps. Psychology, Mom. Sum simply smiled even wider. And didn't that Naruto boy make the sexy jutsu? She mused. Boy, you should see the cans on that thing. I think he'll love yours when you finish growing. Kiba remained silent, shades of red previously unknown to the likes of mankind flashing across her cheeks. Akamaru rolled on the ground, mimicking laughter. Having thoroughly teased her daughter to the point where even the walls were nearly glowing red in embarrassment, Sum sighed and looked over at the material Kiba had gotten. Her eyes sharpened and she frowned. Her daughter was an idiot. It looks like you were going to add armor to it. Kiba perked up. Yeah, I was going to add it inside. After you stitched it up, her mother deadpanned. Kiba shut her mouth so fast it made a slight pop. You also have leg plates here. Sum continued, holding the jacket in the air and squinting at it. Not only are they heavier, but they'd also curve projectiles funny and simply let them just slide in, maybe even causing the attack to do more damage. Sum grabbed the fabric and string Kiba had been using. These are mostly right, but your stitching is wrong. Kiba huffed and stomped her feet. Mom. I'll do it myself. Yes, you will, but I'm going to help, Sum said sharply. Now sit down, girl. Can't have your boyfriend get killed in battle because you did a crappy job fixing his jacket. Kiba sighed and surrendered to her mother's demands. It was odd bonding with her mother in something that wasn't related to the dogs or being a ninja. And while fixing and maintaining armored clothing was ninja-related, it was far different from learning techniques or being trained. It was a nice experience. It reminded Kiba of her early years before her dad left. Hey, Mom, Kiba asked, attempting to finish the last stitch. Her fingers had sustained significantly less damage than last time. She still managed to prick herself often, though, and burned herself when they melted the threads for the chest armor. You're doing fine, pup, Sim said, watching her daughter's hand carefully. Did Dad love us? Sum froze at the question. Even now, after 6 years, being reminded of the man who fathered her children froze her in her tracks. Your father, Sim began, lightly rubbing Kiba's shoulder, loved you and Hannah more than anything in the world. Why'd he leave us then? I need to get started on dinner. Sum's eyes furrowed at the end of her words. She left the room, but paused at the doorway. After a moment of silent contemplation, she sighed. He didn't leave because of you. He left because of me. Kiba frowned and stared at Naruto's jacket. She wasn't entirely certain how she should feel about her father. He left his family, and yet she missed him, his jovial smiles, the strength he showed, the love he gave to his family. It wasn't until she looked up to ask her mother another question that she noticed the woman was gone. Catching a small whiff of Naruto's scent, Kiba sighed. One of her earliest smells was of her father's scent, the smell of an alpha, and Naruto reminded her of it. Akamaru whined and pawed at Kiba's leg. Smiling, Kiba bent down to pat her companion's head. Thanks, boy. You'll always have my back, even when I don't want you to, right? Akamaru barked affirmatively. Grabbing Naruto's jacket and her own, Kiba began to leave. Let's give Naruto his jacket before dinner. It wouldn't be too hard to find him with Naruto's scent hard-boiled into her nose. After his training with Jiraiya, Naruto had been ambushed. It was his own fault. He wandered in front of Ichiraku's largely to feel sorry for himself, having already examined his empty wallet. It was then that he noticed Ayame marching towards him, a deep scowl on her face. Naruto then found himself sitting in Ayame's house above the ramen stand. An untouched glass of tea sat before him, and a scowling Ayame across from him. Ayame took a small sip of her own tea. From behind her glass, she leveled a small glare at him. Drink the tea, Naruto. Not wanting to question Ayame's demands or make her even more angry, Naruto gulped down Ayame's tea. It was bitter, with no sweetener. He let out a light laugh to try and ease the tension, but Ayame killed it with a look. Did I do something wrong? Ayame sighed, taking another sip of her tea. She squinted, looking down at him. What happened yesterday, Naruto? Naruto wasted no time in getting on the defensive. That wasn't my fault. I didn't know it was a dash. Ayame slammed her hand on the table, and Naruto jumped. That's not the point. Seeing Naruto shut his mouth with an audible click, Ayame calmed down and continued. First, I understand that you didn't realize it was a date. But you were still rude to her. She sighed. She kind of likes you, you know. Hey, she started out calling me an idiot. Naruto retorted, crossing his arms with a huff. And there's no way Kiba likes me. Ayame rolled her eyes. I never said she wasn't rude either, but you caused most of it. She took another sip from her tea. I suppose I should start with your positives. When you first saw her, you complimented her and said that her hair looked pretty. That was good. Did you see the look on her face when you did it? Naruto hummed as he attempted to recall the previous day's events. A lot of it he didn't want to remember. He was fairly certain Kiba hated him at this point. She smiled and kind of blushed for a second, right? Ayame smiled and clapped her hands. Good. You're not completely oblivious after all. Naruto grumbled at that. Now, on to the second thing you did right. When Kiba ran away, you at least tried to chase after her. Ayame paused and looked at Naruto with a scrutinizing gaze. To say sorry, right?
Yeah.
Good. I am happily clapped once again. As for everything else, you should be glad you didn't get a bowl of ramen dumped on your head with how you treated her. Naruto's retort was silenced before it even began. Don't get me wrong, you are both terrible dates. But I can't fix her. She jabbed her finger into his chest. I can, however, fix you. The term fix made Naruto uncomfortable, and he had to suppress the urge to cross his legs. Pouring herself more tea, Ayam offered some to Naruto. When he refused, she poured him some more anyways. When somebody offers to buy you food, you shouldn't just ignore them and start eating. You need to talk more. And not with your mouth full. Naruto looked confused. But then when am I supposed to eat? Ayam wondered for a second if her eyes would roll out of her head. She really couldn't blame Naruto. His only form of table manners were the ones she gave him when he came to eat at their stand. In between bites. Wait until you finish your bite to ask or answer questions. Naruto looked at his cup of tea and took a small sip of it. Like this. Naruto asked after his sip and setting the gross beverage down again. Taking a drink of her own. Ayam smiled and nodded. Exactly. She placed her cup down once again. And when a girl asks you for help when you're eating together, you should? Naruto froze, waiting for Ayam to continue. When she didn't, he furrowed his brows in confusion.
Oh.
Help them? If Naruto was a dog, he would have gotten a biscuit. Kiba followed her nose directly to a Chiraku ramen. The place smelled so much like Naruto, it wasn't even funny. Naruto didn't smell like ramen. Ramen smelled like Naruto. Kiba sighed and walked into the stand, holding Naruto's jacket in her arms. Tucci greeted her with a smile. Hello again. Would you like a second helping of Meat Lover's ramen? Kiba shook her head no. Her mother would be rather displeased if she went out to eat just before dinner. No, I'm actually looking for Naruto. Have you seen him? Tucci smiled brightly at that. Yes, my daughter decided to drill some manners into him during her break. She should be down soon. The dinner rush is about to begin. It was then that Tucci noticed Naruto's jacket in Kiba's arms. Oh, so you're the one that's been keeping that from Naruto. He just doesn't look the same without it. Kiba's blush bloomed like a lotus flower. I only have it because I fixed it. Tucci's smile grew wider at that. The same smile he wore when somebody offered to buy Naruto all the ramen he could eat. And I only fixed it because he lost it and it tore. Not because I like him or anything. Tucci gave Kiba a great belly laugh at the way she was acting. Say, you're Tsum's youngest daughter, right? Kiba gave a curt nod. She's why I can't order. She's making dinner. Tucci usually left gossiping to his daughter. After all, Ayam had become the lovable face of his establishment. But the ramen chef saw all and knew all that happened within his stand. You know, having a bad first date here is a good sign, Tucci said with a shrug as he recalled years in the past. I remember when your father, Teru, came into the stand dragging along that tomboy Tsum. I had just opened up, and he had just asked her out. Kiba froze at that. She hadn't heard her father's name in years. It was taboo in their house. But what was more shocking was that Tucci made it sound like her father had asked her mother out. Wait, my dad asked my mom out? Tucci nodded.
Yep.
She used to be even more wild when she was younger. Scared all the guys away. But Teru was fearless. Somehow, he managed to convince Tsum to go out with him. Kiba swallowed down a lump in throat. No way. Though they stopped coming here, as often once your mother learned to cook, Tucci mused. Your father ended up with a bowl of ramen on his head, and Tsum stormed away. Don't really remember what for, I just remember it was a waste of good ramen. Kiba wasn't entirely certain if she could even believe this ramen man. For years, her mother had told her that her father was a coward and that he ran away because of her. Do you have some proof? Tucci frowned at that. Proof? Do you think I take photos of every couple that has a date at my shop? Snorting at the ridiculous notion, he began to clean his ramen bar with a rag he procured from underneath the countertop. You and your sister are all the proof I need. Ask your mother. A man, followed by his pregnant wife, entered the ramen stand, and Tucci moved to serve them after taking their orders and beginning the prep work. Free from the man's attention, Kiba's senses began to drift elsewhere. She heard the small click of a lock coming undone from upstairs and the squeak of a rarely oiled door as it opened, and several moments later Ayam appeared behind the counter, followed by Naruto. For reasons unknown to Kiba, she bolted out of the ramen stand. Unfortunately for her, being quick did not equal being stealthy. Hey, Kiba, wait. Kiba felt her sweat run cold and her blood boil, her heart beating to its own rhythm. Naruto was probably still mad at her for running away during their date, not that he thought it was a date, or maybe for leaving him with a bill and saying that she hoped he'd lose. Hey, Kiba. Kiba turned on her feet, beginning a bow at the waist when she was facing Naruto. I'm sore dash. Crack.
Ow.
The bow was cut short and they both shot back, each reeling from the feeling of having headbutt the other. It sounded like two coconuts banging into each other, and had the circumstances been different, and his forehead less in pain, Naruto would have, probably, found the situation hilarious. If Akamaru could have laughed, he would have. Ow, 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 Kiba said, rubbing her face into Naruto's jacket in an attempt to rub away the pain. Ow, Naruto groaned, readjusting his forehead protector. For once, the object did its job. It still hurt a bit, though. Kiba had a hard head. Recovering first, Naruto stood upright and began his half-practiced speech. Kiba, I'm sorry for how I treated you yesterday. And Naruto paused, watching as Kiba eyed him curiously from behind his jacket. Is that my jacket? Kiba yelped and threw the jacket at Naruto's face. It was a good 10 pounds heavier now that the armor had been added to it, and Naruto, not expecting it to be thrown at him, or for it to be several times heavier than he was used to, had to stumble backwards.
Kiba blanched.
Sorry. Naruto looked at his jacket and inspected it, noting that some of the tears he had gotten were taken care of and that there was a large stitch along one of the armpits. Oh, hey, did you fix this? Naruto didn't wait for her to answer, putting it on.
Wow.
It feels heavier. What did you do to it? It's not like I did it for you, Kiba snorted quickly. She blushed, realizing what she had said again. After yesterday, I went to go get your jacket. Since I left you with the bill, I thought this was a good way to say sorry. Kiba examined her feet. I even added a bit of armor to it to help your fight against Niji. Naruto couldn't contain his excitement. Kiba had gotten him a truly wonderful gift. He loved his jacket, and now it was even better than before. Thank you so much, Kiba, Naruto yelled, pulling Kiba into a tight hug. Kiba squealed when the boy leapt forward. Physical contact with Naruto, while not entirely unwanted, was still a surprise. Naruto's excitement was twofold. He got his jacket back, and he was starting to think that maybe, just maybe, Jiraiya and Ayam were right. Maybe Kiba really did like him. Raw excitement flushed over him. A girl liked him.
Him.
Kiba would have returned the hug with just as much enthusiasm if she wasn't freaking out or if her arms weren't pinned to her sides. Naruto was hugging her with more force than when he grabbed her during the chunin exams, and she could feel her vision starting to fade from the pressure. Worse still was the warmth Kiba felt from the hug and the warmth in Naruto's voice. It might have been pleasant if she could breathe. Naruto, air, Kiba pleaded. Naruto dropped Kiba quickly and took a step back, his cheeks red from embarrassment. Sorry, Kiba. When Kiba puts her hood down, she definitely looks prettier than Sakura, he noted after he took a long look at her. I was just happy that you did this for me and that you're not mad at me anymore. Kiba blushed. How could she hate Naruto after yesterday? The whole thing was her fault. She was rude to him from the start, and she never actually said the word date until it was too late. You idiot, Kiba whispered, steeling herself. You should have been mad at me. I called you names and said that I hoped you'd lose, which I don't. You need to kick Niji's butt for Hinata. Naruto's smile widened at that. Yeah, I beat you, so I'll be able to go all the way to top, right? The implied compliment made Kiba smile. You bet. I can't have the guy I lost to losing in the first round. Sticking her fist out towards Naruto, she waited for him to bump it. You better win. I don't want to waste my cheering on a loser. Naruto smiled and bumped Kiba's fist. Don't worry. I'll make chunin no problem. Dropping her fist, Kiba looked at Naruto, biting her bottom lip ever so slightly. Hey, she began, as the storm inside her raged. After the chunin exams are over. She trailed off, and Naruto let out an elongated Would you like to go out with me? Was she really doing this? Was she really going to actually ask Naruto out on a date just after their last one failed so bad? On some missions, Kiba quickly added, shaking away the thoughts that plagued her mind. Naruto didn't allow his smile to fall. He was kind of hoping she would say date, but missions with Kiba sounded just fine as well. Okay, just the two of us. Not wanting to be ignored, Akamaru jumped up between the two and barked. Three of us, Kiba corrected, bending down to pick up Akamaru. Naruto rolled his eyes with a smile and a huff, leaning down to ruffle the fur on Akamaru's head. Yeah, sure. I guess Akamaru can come. Akamaru wagged his tail, trying to play bite at Naruto's hand. Kiba smiled one last time. Well, I need to go before my mom yells at me. She turned on her heel and began running off. You better not lose, you idiot. Naruto waved goodbye. Kiba had a weird way of wishing him luck. Kiba was running. She was late. Naruto and had probably left already. She was an hour late, so she would have done the same thing. If he was still there, she didn't want to keep him waiting any longer than necessary. Her uncombed hair floated like a mudslide behind her. It was a Saturday. It was only natural to sleep in, after all. Kiba skidded around the corner of her home. Her exit, however, was blocked by a mirthful Hannah. With a wide stance and hands on her hips, it was clear that Hannah wasn't going to let her little sister off easily. Late for your date, runt? Hannah barked, venom foaming from each word. Kiba didn't slow. It had been well over a month since her and Naruto had had their date. She had finally found him again. Not that she was looking for him, and established a time for their second date. Not that it was a date. Kiba juked right, and Akamaru fainted to the left. It was during this time that Hannah had developed into a bigger bitch than normal, constantly teasing and tormenting Kiba about Naruto. It got worse with each failed man she tried to bring home, which had been 3. In the last month, Akamaru used the wall as a springboard and landed safely on Hannah's head. With Hannah distracted, Kiba used the opportunity to slip between her sister's legs and make her break to freedom. It's not a date. Kiba backpedaled to stick her tongue out at her sister. Akamaru kept pace with her, a smug look on his puppy dog face. Hannah huffed and crossed her arms. Her little sister hadn't been that happy in a while. She nearly let a smile slip. Mom's cooking tonight, so don't be late. I don't want to have to spend my day off finding you. Kiba wisely chose to keep her mouth shut. Akamaru didn't. Running behind Kiba, he let out a few yips. Hannah's face went red as she sucked on her bottom lip. Kiba snorted. You know she'll neuter you for that one, right? At the whines Akamaru made, Kiba almost felt sorry for her smart-mouthed companion. Almost. Kiba rounded the corner to the Hokage's office, just a bit too fast. She heard the sound of what could have only been 2 coconuts bouncing off of each other first, followed by a deep pain on her forehead. Once again, the forehead protector was proving to just be for show. Ow, ow, ow. Kiba and another voice said at the same time. Across from her on the ground sat Naruto, rubbing his forehead in a similar fashion to Kiba. She was hoping Naruto was still there, but she didn't want to literally run into him like that. Why don't you watch where you're going, you idiot? Today was off to a fantastic start. Naruto stood to his feet in one quick motion when he realized that it was Kiba he had butted heads with. A wide grin spread across his face. He was still here after he slept in. Hey, Kiba. Naruto offered his hand. Sorry I'm late. I, slept in. He grinned, shrinking back a bit in embarrassment. I wasn't looking where I was going, because I thought you'd be gone by now. An odd mixture of relief, anger, and embarrassment raged in Kiba's mind. She took Naruto's hand quickly enough, using his bulk to hoist herself up with ease. She wanted to tell him that they were both late so that they could laugh and just continue on with the day, but it came out as, "Whatever. It's not like I was waiting around for you, dumbass." A smile spread across Naruto's face. He couldn't help but roll his eyes, which seemed to anger Kiba further. "Then what are you still doing here?" Kiba froze. She was caught." Akamaru gave a whine bark. Kiba snarled at him, and the dog shut up quickly enough. "I was late too, okay?" Kiba stared at Naruto, her ears slowly turning red. Her eyes kept darting away from his. And then he was laughing. And then they were laughing. Naruto calmed himself for a moment. "Let's do it in the afternoon next time. We're not morning people." Kiba could only nod in agreement. She pumped her left hand with extra enthusiasm. "Well, let's get this started. I'm ready to do some missions. Aren't you going to, Naruto coughed as Kiba turned to face the door. Kiba blinked at her Saturday morning mission buddy. "Do what?" Let go of my hand." She never did let go of his hand when he helped her up. How long had they been standing there talking and holding hands? In front of the Hokage Tower, no less?
Who saw them?
Did it matter? Yes, it mattered. No, it didn't. Did it matter because it was him? Did it not matter because of him? Kiba yelped, quickly letting go of Naruto's hand and taking an extra step away from him, folding her arms and pouting at Naruto. She gave him a weak glare. "Not my fault. You hit my head so hard I forgot about it." Naruto gave her a half smirk, rolling his eyes once more. "Whatever. Let's go hit up Granny for some missions." Like a true gentleman, Naruto opened the door for Kiba. Kiba took the open door and waited for Naruto to join her in the hallway. "So, is she actually your grandma? It'd be pretty cool to be related to a Hokage." The rush of air that came out of Naruto's nose was a clear indication that the idea was ludicrous. "Nah, she just looks young. She's actually really old and uses a jutsu to make herself look young, so I call her Granny because it bugs her." Kiba let out a bark of laughter. Annoying the Hokage doesn't seem like a good idea, Naruto. They arrived at the Hokage's office. It was Kiba's first time receiving missions from the new Hokage. She wasn't even certain if Lady Tsunade would give two genin a couple of D-ranks. Certainly not everything needed to be handled by a team of 3 with a sensei. With her enhanced senses, Kiba picked up on 2 rather worrying things. The first was that from the other side of the door, there was a slight rumbling, like snoring. The second was the unmistakable smell of cheap sake. Kiba knew the smell. Well, it was the kind her mother got on certain dates. With no sense of grace or manners, Naruto opened the door and barraged in. Most people knocked. Naruto wasn't most people. Lady Tsunade, 5th Hokage of Konoha, was quick to sit upright. The empty body of sake that was sitting on her desk tipped over and began rolling off the side. Tsunade caught it with her hand. "Do I need to teach you manners, brat?" With a huff, Naruto crossed his arms. "Ayam has been giving me lessons every time I get ramen now." He didn't want to blame Kiba, but their horrendous first day had sparked Ayam to take Naruto's lack of manners into her own hands. He still had no idea what he did wrong most of the time. Kiba was quick to stand in front of Naruto and gave her new leader a deep bow. "Hello, Lady Tsunade. I am Kiba Inuzuka." She had a deep respect for a female Hokage, even if it did crush her dream of being the first female Hokage. "Me and this idiot are here to see if you have any missions we can do today." "You two trying to get enough money to go on a date or something?" Tsunade asked with a raised eyebrow. She wouldn't have cared if they had said yes. It was normal for teens to date. It was also normal for teens to need money. A calm refusal would have been slightly disappointing. With a deep blush that made her clan markings fade away, Kiba looked at Naruto quickly 3 times, never once staring at him for longer than a blink. Her messy brown hair began to stand on its end.
What?
"No way. We're not going to go on a date." Naruto turned into a tomato with blonde hair. The mention of dating Kiba gave him a sinking feeling inside of his gut. The memories of their failed date came bubbling up to the surface. as did every single one of Iam's lessons. Worse still were Jiraiya's. Tsunade smiled deeply. Oh, she was going to have fun teasing these two. Oh, shame. You two make a cute couple. For her efforts, Tsunade was rewarded with more blushing. She might have to check on the girl at some point. That shade of red wasn't natural. Akamaru chased his tail. Whatever. Naruto shouted, flailing his arms. Can we have a couple D-ranks or not? Fine, Tsunade said, digging into a pile of D-rank scrolls. She pulled out 3. Here, weed pulling should take about an hour. Finishing the file work won't take too long either, and finally painting a fence. Naruto's face crinkled in disgust as Tsunade listed off his tasks. Don't you have anything more exciting? A quick shove from Kiba stopped Naruto from complaining further. Those are fine, Lady Tsunade. Kiba shot Naruto a shut the hell up glare and retrieved the scrolls from Tsunade. You could learn a thing or two from your girlfriend, brat. Tsunade had to restrain herself from rolling over with laughter at the expressions the two made. It was so fun to tease teenagers. They were so obvious about their feelings and in such denial about them as well. Kiba pushed Naruto out the door as quickly as she could, snapping her head back to yell at the Hokage. He's not my boyfriend. Pulling weeds as part of her genin team was a boring mechanical process. It honestly was one of Kiba's least favorite missions, largely because she couldn't do it quickly most of the time. The owners didn't want their lawns to be dug up by a Fong over Fong. Perfectly reasonable. Reasonable but still boring. With Naruto, however, Kiba couldn't remember the last time she had laughed so hard. It helped that Naruto also used a few shadow clones to speed up the process slightly. It was then that Kiba realized that shadow clones smelled like Naruto as well. It was going to her head. And then after I got behind him, I took out my kunai and stabbed him in the butt. Naruto was animated as he retold one of his many fights. Then when he knocked me away, the explosive tag went off. An exploding kunai to the rear and just so happened to be in lines with Kiba's sense of humor. Crude, effective, and just a little bit nasty. Kiba's laugh helped her rip out a rather stubborn weed. She laughed hard and let out an oink. Naruto stopped and smiled at her. Kiba tried to stop her laughter. It only made it worse. You oink. Naruto shouted happily, pointing a finger at Kiba with much enthusiasm. The shock of the sound that Kiba made caused Naruto to enter his own giggle fit quickly after. Kiba's laugh devolved into hiccups as she tried to stop. She turned a slightly teary-eyed glare towards Naruto, a few giggles still escaping her lips. You jerk. Don't make fun of my laugh. I'm not making fun of it, Naruto said, calming his own laughter easily enough. A blush spread across his face as Naruto turned back down towards some of the weeds. I think it's kind of cute. Kiba froze. She had only been made fun of for her oinks. And yet here Naruto was saying that it was cute. She was grateful that he was looking at the ground as he pulled up another weed. She couldn't help but smile and blush. You dumbass. What makes you think I care? The weed Naruto was struggling with finally gave way as he pulled up a giant glob of dirt with its roots and all. He fell to his butt and looked at Kiba. He presented the weed in his hand like an ugly trophy. Doesn't mean it's not cute. Shizen made them wash their hands when they arrived for their next mission. She didn't want the files to get dirty. According to Shizen, the old system was absolutely rubbish and that her new system for organizing things would much more effective. Today, Shizen began by clicking a pen onto a clipboard. You two will be responsible for putting our shinobi files in alphabetical order. Some of them are retired, MIA, or deceased. Be sure to put them under the right category. Please sort them by last name first, so that all the clans are together for quick and easy reference. A dead silence drifted between Naruto and Kiba as they stared at Shizen and the massive stacks of files next to her. Neither one of them liked paper. It reminded them of academy homework. Of the genin team assigned to do her mission, only the little dog looked like he understood her. But that might have been because it wagged its tail when she looked at it. Any questions? Shizen asked, desperately hoping to clear up any miscommunications. Naruto and Kiba stared at each other, then at the large, intimidating stacks. And finally back at Shizen. Nope, Naruto said, making a pop. Okay, Shizen said. She slowly began backing away from the duo. I'll be back in a bit to check on your progress. She'd be back in 30 minutes. They couldn't mess up things that badly, right? They were strong, capable ninja. You got it, Shizen, Naruto said happily as Shizen left. Looking at Kiba, Naruto stroked his chin and thought, how would you want to do this? Kiba simply looked at the stacks once again. I don't know. You make a couple of clones, and I'll read the file to find out where they're supposed to go. It sounded efficient. Eventually, they got a system down using just the right amount of clones for the job. They made fun of a few names, a few pictures. Naruto brightened up when his file came up and his ridiculous ID picture he had taken was included with the do-over one the old man made him take. And then everything stopped. Kiba wasn't even aware of what she was holding until she was halfway through reading it. She froze. Her hands trembled as though she had just walked into the snow. In her hands was the profile of Teru Inuzuka, her father. It had been so long since she had last seen a picture of him. Her mother had seen fit to remove all such photos from their house one day. He was standing firm in his identification photo, a true ninja of the leaf. Right below his rank jounin, in big red letters, was MIA. Kiba fell to her knees. She hadn't seen her father since he just left one day. Some of her earliest memories were of seeing him off on missions with her mother and sister. It had been so long ago. Naruto's voice sounded distant and gargled, like he was trying to talk to her from the inside of a fish tank. The paper felt heavy as Kiba flipped through her father's files to the last one. The final mission that her father had been on. In the jumble of events and jargon, Kiba found the words that described her dad's fate in a heartbeat. Separated in battle. Kiri Ninja sent him downstream in an ambush. Searched for him. Body not found. His Ninken continued to search for him. Fled during the night. The paper was getting rained on. Tears streamed down Kiba's face in thick globs. Her dad was dead. That's why he left them. That's why her mother got sad whenever she mentioned dad. My dad is dead. They never found his body. Akamaru placed his head on Kiba's lap and looked up at his companion, a shared pain in his puppy eyes. Kiba could hear his heartbeat as Naruto took her into an awkward hug, her face half buried in his orange jacket. He smelled so much like her father. That lingering scent of sweat and earth that blended together to form a scent that was uniquely Naruto. He smelled like an alpha. Naruto couldn't help but try to read the file that had brought Kiba to her knees. A lot of it was technical terms he didn't quite understand. A mission near the capital, protecting a target, Kiri team as opposition. And then he read what Kiba read. His Ninken thought he was still alive. Kiba nodded into Naruto's jacket. Naruto took Kiba's shoulders in his arms and pushed her to arm's length. She attempted to hide her face by looking at the ground. Naruto ducked his head down and shook her shoulders roughly. Hey, Kiba looked at him with red eyes. Akamaru is a Ninken and he seems pretty smart. So, if your dad's thought that he was still alive, then he must be alive. Akamaru barked in agreement. Kiba knew they were offering her a false hope. A false sense of happiness. The same denial she now saw in her mother's actions. It seemed so appealing. Kiba, I promise you I'll help you find your dad. The certainty in his voice shocked Kiba. It sent a tingle along her spine right behind her stomach. She liked that feeling. He's still out there, so you just have to believe it, got it? Don't give up yet. Kiba looked at Naruto in awe. She knew she shouldn't believe him. She knew that he was promising the impossible. Impossible seemed to be what Naruto specialized in. Okay, Naruto. Naruto smiled at her with a brightness in his eyes.
Oh.
So that's why Hinata liked him. Kiba insisted that they do the painting mission. It was their pride as shinobi that was on the line. She refused to have a mark on her record that she failed a D-rank mission. That was a blemish that she could not live with. In order to make things go quickly, Naruto created far more clones than necessary. They had more Narutos than they did brushes. Naruto watched as Kiba slowly painted a small section of the fence. She was simply going through the motions. A passive, not quite frown was etched onto her face. At least she wasn't crying anymore. She was ugly when she cried. Hey, Kiba. Naruto smiled as startled Kiba out of her thoughts. Before she could ask what he wanted, Naruto took his brush and booped Kiba on the nose with it. Her nose was suddenly wet. Kiba twisted her nose as though she was about to sneeze. You bastard. What the hell was that for? Kiba's own brush flailed wildly, splattering paint all around. She took an aggressive step forward. I knew it, Naruto said smugly, not backing down from Kiba's challenging glare. His jacket was off and safe. He was ready to get dirty. Blue totally isn't your color. That was a girl thing, right? Kiba looked at Naruto like he was brain dead as she tried to process what he just said. What are you? So quit being so blue, Kiba. Kiba blushed at that. Naruto could have just said she was being a downer. He didn't need to do something so.
Naruto.
She took her brush and flung it at Naruto multiple times, pelting him with droplets of blue paint. You're right. It looks better on you. Naruto's retaliation came from behind. Two of the nearby clones began to use their brushes like whips to shoot large globs of pain at Kiba. Paint got in her hair. The hair that she had been taking care of ever since Naruto had complemented it. Sure, she didn't comb it today, but now it was blue. A few drops of pain managed to snake down her spine and caused Kiba to flinch. She glared at Naruto hard as he just smiled at her like the biggest idiot on the planet. So, that's how you want to play, is it? Kiba asked with danger in her voice. In one motion, she grabbed a paint can. Before Naruto could protest, Kiba began to spin violently, turning into a blue tornado as blue paint went flying everywhere. Not a single clone was spared, and the fence was completely covered in an uneven coating. At least it was painted. Naruto smiled underneath his blue paint mask Kiba had given him. After shaking off as much paint as he could, Naruto finally opened his eyes. Kiba was a sight to behold. Her hair was now a wild twister of blue paint. Her own attack had covered her with just as much paint as everything else. With her hands on her hips, she looked at Naruto with a satisfied smile. Who's blue now? With his now blue shirt, Naruto looked up and down at Kiba's paint-covered form. She had done more to herself than he did. Naruto could only give Kiba a cheeky grin. Both of us. A thick blush crept onto Kiba's face that clashed with the blue paint that was splattered across her person. She really went too far. Their eyes met. They both looked completely ridiculous. Kiba was the first to start laughing. Naruto was quick to join her. The laughter came and went like the tide, growing in intensity whenever Kiba oinked, or when they managed to open their eyes and get a good look at one another. Akamaru walked stiffly towards Kiba, completely covered in blue paint. He let out a soft whine. Kiba's laughter came to a giggly stop. She had to be careful when she picked up Akamaru so as to not get any more paint on herself. With the last few giggles, Kiba examined Akamaru, who gave her a pitiful look. Sorry, buddy. Didn't mean for you to get caught in the crossfire. Looks like I'm going to have to give you a bath. Naruto couldn't help but frown at the situation. Tsunade's teasing had actually given Naruto the idea to ask Kiba out for ramen once they were finished with the missions. But now, because of the blue puppy, they were going to be parting ways. Unless, can I help? Kiba bit her lip. It would be bad if she took Naruto home, especially with both of them being covered in paint. Yeah, sure. And if her mother or sister were home, she would have to sneak him in through the back. Wait, did she just agree to it without thinking it through? If the cheer of excitement Naruto let out was any indication, yes, she did. But it's not like I need your help or anything. Naruto was confused. Hey, Kiba? Naruto asked, poking the girl in the arm to try and get her attention. Kiba had been staring at her home for a long time now, just glaring at it. What? Kiba attempted to yell and whisper at the same time. She had almost jumped out of her skin when Naruto poked her. She was expecting it to be her mother or sister, maybe even one of the Nin-Ken or other members of her clan. Naruto looked around, examining the brush that they were hiding in. Why are we hiding in a bush? Yes, Kiba, why are you hiding in the bush? Both young teens jumped at the deep growl of a voice that echoed from behind them. Their heads snapped to see who had found them. A large wolf-like dog sat calmly behind them, an eye patch covered his right eye, and his coat was black on top with a white bottom. And why is the pup blue? Naruto let out a shocked gasp and pointed at the dog like it was some kind of ghost. It can talk. Oh hey, Kuramaru, is mom or sis in?
Kiba asked.
If she acted like she didn't do anything wrong, then she wasn't doing anything wrong. Naruto got pain on him, and I didn't want mom to find out. Naruto looked like he had just been thrown to the wolves. Kuramaru gave the two a quick sniff. I see. So that's how it is. The great wolf stood up slowly and turned away with a patient ease. Your mother went shopping. Hannah is still at the clinic, so you have reign of the den for now. Kiba gave her mother's companion a deep bow and grabbed Naruto's hand quickly before Kuramaru changed his mind. If Kuramaru didn't say anything, it meant that he was okay with it.
Probably.
It turned out that Kiba did need Naruto's help washing Akamaru. As smart and as calm as Akamaru was, there was a deep fear of taking a bath that Akamaru unfortunately inherited. Bathing Akamaru was also a loud process as the pup switched from whining about getting wet to barking and attacking the water. Naruto was hanging into the tub, holding onto the dog firmly. Kiba was doing her best to get all of the water onto Akamaru and not onto Naruto. Something that was funny at first had since lost its humor. Hey, it's okay, Akamaru, it's just water. Naruto said cheerfully. His own slightly blue hair was damped from splash damage. See, I'm wet, and it doesn't hurt any. Akamaru acknowledged the blonde by attempting to bite out of his bonds. It wasn't a hard bite, and it stopped as soon as Akamaru touched the flesh. It was just a nip. Kiba smiled at how well Naruto and her best friend got along. Anybody else would likely be bleeding and needing stitches in their hand. The two applied a generous amount of shampoo to Akamaru. You're almost done, buddy. Just a little bit longer. You just got to bubble you up. Naruto began to happily rub the shampoo while maintaining a firm grip on Akamaru. At many points during the wash, Akamaru had a mohawk or some other weird for style. Akamaru had given up on life at this point and simply stood there, giving Kiba a deep pleading look to just end it already. The door slammed open and Kiba began to share Akamaru's sentiment. Some stood in the doorway, a feral look in her eyes. The room went silent, even Akamaru stopped his whining. Some took in the sight before her. The paint-spattered look of her daughter and Naruto. The currently wet, miserable, and ever so slightly blue Akamaru. Looked like a wild date. She was honestly quite happy to see her daughter spending time with the brat. But it was a mother's duty to torment her children. Both of you wash up. Dinner is in 15 minutes. The door slammed shut. Silence persisted as Naruto and Kiba turned to look at one another. So, Naruto began in an attempt to break the silence. That's your mom? Kiba nodded as her mind revved up for full-on freak-out mode. Everything came to a crashing conclusion in her mind. Her mother was home. Naruto had to leave. Quick, get out of here. Naruto found himself being pulled up to his feet, allowing Akamaru to run free.
Hey, wait.
What? Is your mom that scary? Yes. There was no hesitation in that response. Kiba opened the window and attempted to usher Naruto out of it. Reality caught up to Kiba, with half of Naruto sticking out of her window. Wait. No, Mom invited you to dinner. You can't run, but you really should. Naruto yelped when he was pulled back violently through the small bathroom window. Stay, go, which is it? Naruto complained, standing up to look Kiba in the eyes. Kiba bit her lip again. She didn't want to have an awkward dinner with Naruto and her family. That wasn't something that should happen until he was her boyfriend. Not that she ever wanted him to be her boyfriend, but she also didn't want him to leave yet. Only because if he left now, her mother would be furious and hunt Naruto down and force him to eat dinner. Or worse. Kiba sat down on the side of the tub and let her head sink. I don't know. Not for the first time, Naruto wondered if it was a good time to touch Kiba. Even when he hugged her earlier, he wasn't certain if he should have done that. It was weird touching a girl. She jumped when he placed his hand on her shoulder. Do you want me to leave? Kiba's head snapped at Naruto, and a deep frown appeared on her face. No, she saw Naruto's smile grow wide. But not because I want you to stay. I'm just not the boss of you, so you should do what you want. Then I'm staying for dinner. Akamaru chose that moment to walk in front of the two teens. Naruto and Kiba swore that they saw Akamaru give them a smug smile. Then the dog began to dry himself in a very dog-like fashion.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.